This is Street Connect, a project that I started to bring more purpose and connection into New York City life. And I do that by having conversations with strangers.
I would ask about what you're thinking of the election. Is that okay?
Yeah. I mean,
because I actually am interested in what people are thinking.
It's nerve-wracking or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe that anything will change, like, at any point. If you're not looking really closely, I feel like you can miss a lot of the changes. You know what I mean? Because, like, if you're not, like, watching the stock market, or if you're not, like, hardcore managing, like, your healthcare plan, or, like, whatever, you may not, like, I could miss it entirely, I feel. You know what I mean? But what I have noticed over the last 4 years especially is, like, the uptake in, for me, racist activity. Things that have felt unsafe.
Like interpersonally, not just online, but in your social world.
I've seen as much connection as, like, disconnection. You know what I mean? And that has been really scary.
I'm very worried about what's going to happen. I'm involved in immigration stuff, and that makes me very worried. And I feel reasonably aware of the life and death stakes for a lot of people that this election has. And I think sometimes we forget that when people just go into their little corner and argue with somebody who, disagrees with them this much, and forgets about all the people over here. So I don't know. But on the other hand, take the uncertainty and anxiety and channel it into something, active and real that might make a tiny difference, whether it's knocking on a door or making a phone call or giving money or having educating yourself or,
As you were speaking, I was reminded just of, like, how much crazy stuff is happening in the country right now.
Yeah. Yes.
I think, like, when you first asked, I was just thinking about, like, actual, like, debates and things like that. You know what I mean? And then, like, what came to mind was, like, the stock market, like, whatever. I forgot about the babies in cages.
Yeah, they're there still, unfortunately. Yeah,
like,
yeah. But it's really, it's not part of your everyday existence.
And it's well, like, it's crazy. Can you tell me about your deepest pain?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Personal or anything. Deepest pain. I don't know. I would say maybe, the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know if this is deepest pain, but getting over a serious medical condition that has been very challenging.
You got over it?
Well, like, I'm in theory cured, but you never really know. So, but having to deal with a life and death medical condition is a lot.
I imagine very scary.
Yes.
Just smiling.
I am, out of, I don't know what. Yeah, I would say, I don't know. Pain? I don't know if that qualifies as pain, but anxiety or whatever.
If it came to the surface.
That's what came to the surface. Yep.
You seem to wrestle with what was coming to the surface also.
Yes, that's true. That's true. How do you deal with something that is in theory officially over, but isn't, and for everyone else is over, but isn't necessarily over for you? I think that's the challenge.
You're talking about, like, the doctor says you're good, so then everybody else is like, you're good.
It's all over.
You,
yeah.
It's like it's still very present.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Though it may not.
So if you have the chance of, something, you have a very low chance of getting hit by a bus. So people will say, when you walk out of your house, you can't worry about getting hit by a bus. But if you got hit by a bus once, chances are your feeling about buses is a little different than it used to be, right? So the idea of the improbable becomes, your relationship to the improbable is very different when the improbable, the lightning strike, the bus has hit you once, right? So for everybody else, the bus hit you once, but you're fine. You made it, and it's not gonna, the chances the bus hits you twice. But your own experience of the bus is that I now know buses can hit you. Yeah. And who's to say it can't happen again? And no one can guarantee me that it won't happen again.
Right. At all.
Yep. I think there are ways that it also makes you more empathetic to other people's bus issues.
No matter what the bus issue is.
No matter what it is. I definitely think that is the case. I think that I can relate, for example, I've done work with vulnerable migrants who are in relationships of power with the world. They're totally vulnerable. They don't have legal status. They're fleeing violence. And I have done this work for several years before I had this issue of my own, but I think I understand a little bit better. I always empathized with them, but I had no idea what it felt like to be them. Right. And I think I have an inkling now of what that feels like, to be totally vulnerable in someone else's hands, and having to rely on trust in other people. Right. And that's not an experience that I had ever, frankly, had before. So anyway, I hate let's find the silver lining in the bad thing. But like, if there is a silver lining, that's probably it for me, which is to be able to connect and have an empathy for other people that, And I teach students. I have students that have had experiences that I've never had before, and I always sympathized with them, but couldn't really put myself in their shoes. And while I still can't put myself in their shoes because their experience is different than mine. It opens
you up in a different way to connect with people when you go through things.
Exactly. I think that's exactly right.